Objectives for today: to find the surface area of a cone. And the learning targets are to know and use the slant height of a cone. The formula for the surface area of a cone is the following: pi r squared plus pi rl, where L is equal to the slant height of the cone. Example number 1. The radius of the cone is 3 inches and the slant height is 15 inches. Find the surface area of the cone. Again, it is pi r squared plus pi rl. Use the pi button on your calculator, but simplify first in your work. R is 3, so we have 3 squared. And then we're going to add to that pi times the radius without squaring it, and then times the slant height 15. So that's pi times 9, and then plus pi times 45. Now you can simplify it like this. If it's pi times 9 and pi times 45, you can simply make it pi times 9 plus 45, which would be 54. The slant height, or not the slant height, but the area of the cone should be 169.65 inches squared. Example number 2. 5 meters for the radius and 20 meters for the slant height. The surface area of a cone is pi r squared plus pi rl. And if you plug in the radius, that gives you 5 squared there, and then the radius by itself, and the slant height. Go through and simplify. Pi times 25 plus pi times 100. And you can simplify that down to pi times 25 plus 100. So that would be pi times 125. The surface area would be 392.70 meters squared. Practice problem number 1. Find the surface area of a cone with a radius of 17 millimeters and a slant height of 30 millimeters. The solution is to write the formula first, pi r squared, and then plus pi rl. R is 17, so we must square that, and then plus pi times 17 times 30. Simplify to get 289 pi plus 510 pi. That's the same thing as saying 799 pi. So in the calculator, do 799 times pi and come up with the following answer: 2,510.13 millimeters squared. Practice number 2. Find the surface area of the cone with radius 8 centimeters and slant height 10 centimeters. The solution for the practice problem is to start with the formula: surface area equals pi r squared plus pi rl, and plug in what you know. The radius is 8, and we put it there and here along with the slant height. Simplify to get 64 pi plus 80 pi, and combine those into 144 pi, and find that in your calculator. 144 times pi is 452.39 centimeters squared. Example number 3. In this case, the slant height here is missing. You're still going to use the same formula of surface area equals pi r squared plus pi, it's an awful looking plus sign, plus pi r l. But you must solve for the slant height. Here's the radius, here is the height of the cone. You have to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for that. So it's 3 squared plus 4 squared equals the slant height squared. So we'll just put slant as SL and squared. So that's 9 plus 16 equals slant height squared. 25 equals the slant height squared, and to find out what the slant height is, you have to find the square root of both sides. And when you do that, the answer should be 5 for the slant height. Once you have that, you go back in and find the surface area of the cone. So it would be pi times 4 squared plus pi times 4 times 5. So that's 16 pi plus 20 pi. That's the same thing as 36 pi. And find that in your calculator. 36 times pi is 113.10 centimeters squared. Example number 4. In this case, we're going to have a radius of 6 centimeters and a cone height of 10 centimeters. What we're looking for is the surface area. Before we can find the surface area, we have to find the slant height. And the slant height squared is equal to 6 squared plus 10 squared. And simplify that to 36 plus 100. And that would be 136. To figure out what the slant height is, you're going to have to find the square root of 136. So the square root of 136 comes out to be 11.661 and on out. Leave it in your calculator for right now. Go back to the formula. Pi r squared plus pi r l. So the surface area is pi times 6 squared plus pi times 6, and then times what's in your calculator, and I'll just put 0.66 in the formula for right now. So what you're going to have to do is work backwards. Start with this part over here. Whatever's in your calculator, multiply it by 6, and then multiply it by pi. And then you're going to have to add to that the left-hand side over there. So hit plus, and then left-hand parenthesis, 36 comes from 6 squared times pi, and then right-hand parenthesis. You should get a final answer of 332.92 centimeters squared. Solution for the practice problem. We have to find this first, the slant height, and that is 6 squared plus 8 squared equals slant height squared. That's 36 plus 64, which will add up to give you 100. And to find the slant height, you must find the square root of both sides, and that comes out to be 10. The surface area is equal to pi r squared plus pi r l, and plug in what you know. Radius is 6, and the slant height is 10. So that is 36 pi plus 60 pi, which is 96 pi. And now the surface area is going to be equal to 96 times pi, which is 301.59 inches squared. Practice number 4. Find the surface area of the cone that has 12 inches for a radius and a height of 20 inches. Solution for the practice: first we must find the slant height, and the slant height squared is equal to 12 squared plus 20 squared. That simplifies to 144 plus 400, and that sum is 544. In order to find the slant height, you need the square root of both of those. The square root of 544 is 23.3238, and so on. But we're going to leave it in the calculator for right now. Surface area equals pi r squared plus pi rl. And that means we have a radius squared of 12 squared, and then pi times 12 times the 23.32. But leave that in the calculator, so go back and do this first. So the square root of 544 was 23 point something, some change. You're going to multiply that by 12 and then multiply it by pi. Leave that in your calculator and hit plus, left-hand parenthesis. 12 squared is 144, and then times pi, right-hand parenthesis, equals a surface area of 1,331.68 inches squared.